Hey, welcome back, y'all. It's another episode of the Late Night Vision Show right here Thursday morning, every morning for the last 360 something weeks. We've been doing this for quite a long time. The co host, Mr. Jason Robertson, Outdoor Legacy. Hey, man, I was looking back at some of the past videos that we did and the past videos that you and I, when we first started working with each other, which was almost 8 years ago. Do you remember? This is a trivia question,
Okay.
Jason. Do you remember when you and I first started working together, what my very first optic review was? Do you
I
remember?
believe that it was the Pulsar Quantum Light.
Yes.
Is that right?
It's right. Yeah.
Man,
And I was thinking the quantum was that one of the first just true dedicated handheld thermals on the market? I mean, was anybody using thermal monoculars back
no,
then?
there was some thermal monoculars. I think back in that day, FLIR had some, but Pulsar was pretty big in the thermal handhelds. That was one of their better thermal handhelds at the time. I remember that was a big release. I'm trying to remember the model number. That is funny that you brought that
Yeah,
up. I don't know
the
why I
quantum.
remember that, but
I
I
don't remember
do.
why you remember it. Yeah, the quantum light has like something X something
X
28.
X,
But
yeah,
yeah, that was before really people just weren't monoculars were not part of
they were not. They were not
everybody's
popular.
essential, things to
Correct.
take out in the field for hunting. So yeah, that was really many 7 almost 8 years ago. So
I honestly
yes.
thought this was going to be, you were going to talk about the fact that I look just as young as I did back then,
uh,
but I don't
I
think
can't say that about
all
you
the
or me.
gray that's showing up right here on this video. So, all
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
let's get to what the people want to hear about. And guys, that is we've got a great review for you today, and this is actually going to be a review of something that is a little more budget friendly, if we can say that. It's going to be the AGM Rattler V2 25-320. It's going to be a $1,499 thermal rifle scope. But before we get to that, real quick, a lot of people will be tuning into this show for the first time. Many of you watch every week. We thank you for that. But what we want everybody to know is if you're looking for any type of thermal optic, be it a handheld, be it a dedicated rifle scope, we would love to have your business at Outdoor Legacy. This is what Hans and I do for a living. Without Outdoor Legacy and without you choosing to do business with us there, the Late Night Vision Show would not exist. And so, one thing we offer, and we try to keep ourselves unique and offer things that a lot of other businesses don't, is hands-on,
Hmm.
one-on-one customer service before and after the sale. You can call, you can talk to Hans, you can talk to our salesman Garrett, myself, and the one thing that we all pride ourselves on is using every single one of the optics that we sell in the field, hunting with them in real conditions to know how they operate and what they can do and what they can't do, and be able to walk you through that process and figure out what is the right optic for you, for your specific needs and your budget. And again, we would love to have your business. 877-350-1818 or outdoorlegacy.com. Again, we appreciate your support. Hans, let's
Yeah,
roll into this Rattler V2
we are.
25-320. Now, before we start, before I let Hans jump into the specs, I want to make a quick note about 320. So this is a 320 resolution. And this is something new from AGM, and it's not something we've actually seen in a thermal rifle scope from any manufacturer in maybe a long time. And it's less than 384 by 288. So 384 is kind
Hmm.
of what we call standard resolution. It's more than 256 resolution, and we're going to get into that and kind of explain what you can realistically expect from this. I will say from the get-go that it is less expensive. It is a lower resolution, and there's a reason for that. I mean, you're getting a little less than you would be in a 384 optic. So I don't want you to quit watching right here, but I will say that if you know what a 384 resolution optic is, and you say I'm not going below that image quality, then
Hmm.
this optic may not be for you. But I did want to just start from the beginning and say 320 is a little different from us,
Hmm.
and it's really right image quality wise, kind of in the middle of those two. So Hans, go on
Yeah.
into the specs. I just wanted to kind of breach that
Yeah.
subject on the front end.
We're going to run through these specs really quick. Jason's going to show the optic. We're going to talk about who it's good for. It's kind of funny you mentioned testing all the optics the other night. I had the Adder 1280 in one hand and had the Rattler 320 in the other, with just testing back and forth. So I got a $7,000 scope in one hand and I'll break the news here, a $1,500 scope in the other with
Right.
the Rattler
That's
320.
right.
So it is kind of, we
That's
do, and we're,
unfair comparison, by the way.
yeah, and people are like, well, y'all review a lot of the expensive optics. Well, we review all of them. We get to all of them. Sometimes it takes time. But yes, let's get through the specs, and we're going to give you just the rundown of this whole thing. Make sure that, if it's not right for you, that's okay, because it's something that AGM has a lot of optics to choose from, and this is just one you can disqualify if it's not. But for some of you, I think it's going to be right on target for what you're looking for. So price, $1,495. Resolution is a 320 by 256. That's the sensor resolution. 50 hertz refresh rate, 12 micron. It's got a sub 20 millikelvin NETD thermal sensitivity rated sensor. It starts at 3.5 power and goes up to 28 power. That's 8 times digital zoom, 3.5 to 28. 1,200 yard detection range, but more importantly, the ID range on a hog or a coyote is going to be realistically in that 225 yard to 250 yard range. It does have 10 different reticle types to choose from, with 4 different reticle color options to choose from. The color palettes that are included: black hot, white hot, red hot, fusion. It's got a 37-foot field of view at 100 yards, 37 feet. Does have onboard video and audio recording, Wi-Fi to the AGM Connect app. The battery life is runtime on a bench test, 6.5 hours with each battery pack. And there are 2 battery packs that are included in with the purchase of this optic. It's recoil rated for a 375 H&H caliber rifle. The temperature rating, minus 22 degrees Fahrenheit all the way up to 131 degrees Fahrenheit. It weighs 1 pound 8 ounces, and that is with the mount and the battery on the optic. The package, what comes in the package? You're getting the scope, the American Defense Manufacturing QD mount, 2 rechargeable battery packs. It does come with a battery pack charger, USB-C cable, lens cloth, manual, and the carrying case. It does come with the AGM 5-year warranty. Jason.
I just want to say one thing. I don't know if
How
when my
great that
face
was.
was showing or not, but when you said what comes in the case, I jerked my head up. It's like, is that a question I'm not
Oh,
prepared to answer? I was like, what? Do what?
It's nice because a lot of people ask about that, and AGM actually has it on their spec sheet. So this,
They do.
my unit, I've had for quite a while. I mean, this, I don't know if it was before they actually sent it out, but mine came to me directly from AGM wrapped in bubble wrap. Is
Yeah,
how mine
right.
came to me. So I had to look on there to see what it actually came with, because they sent it to us, I think, before it was actually even released out on the market. So that was a good question that I needed to find out too.
So I'm going
Yeah.
to show it real quick here. I want to just, if you've seen what a Rattler V2 version 2 looks like, then you don't need to look at this part, because it's another Rattler V2. It's all it is. I do want to just show this real quick. I know that you're probably not going to see this well on video, but basically I have the battery door open. This is the removable rechargeable battery pack. As Hans mentioned, it comes with 2 of these and a cradle charger. These batteries, very long lasting. A lot of people ask, what if I want to buy more? You can. They're $79 a piece, so very affordable for that much runtime. But to be honest, the 2 batteries do most people just fine. You slide it right in here, push it in, door locks, and that is it. So that is the battery compartment housing. Right here you will see USB. That's a USB-C port. That way you can either run it off of external battery pack if for some reason you needed to or ran your batteries out, or you can charge the batteries that way as well if you don't want to take them out and use the cradle charger. Right here, you can see this is the American Defense Manufacturing Quick Detach Mount. No better manufacturer out there than American Defense. It is included with this optic. It's a couple $100 mount, and we're very happy, as always, to see that included with the AGM products. Turning around here, obviously, this is your spring-loaded hinged lens cap. You've got your focus adjustment here on the front, and then this side, nothing really other than the AGM logo. On the top here, these are your buttons. So you've got, all the different functions. You've got a menu button. You can obviously move up and down within the menu. You've got video recording, all the different things. And then, there's your power button right up here that's separate. And then on the back right here, this is your diopter focus. This focuses your eye to the eyepiece. And this rubber eye cup, I like this. It is removable, but you got to really pull to get it off. I just pulled that off and probably won't easily get it back on. You could lose it, but you're gonna have to pull on it pretty hard to get it to come off. It's got a good ridge there. Got it back on there. So that is the walk around of the Rattler. Again, one quick thing I just want to mention. You can see this here. I've got my hand. I'm palming this. This is a small unit. That is one thing that is really nice about the size of these, is if you wanted to use this as a handheld, pop it off the rifle, definitely could do that. If you weren't going to be shooting it at all, for a while, you want to take this mount off, you're going to, remove 2 or 3 ounces of weight and some bulk there, so you could hold it even easier as a handheld. So if that's something you want to do, the Rattler V2s lend themselves very well to that.
Let's get right into it, because Jason, there's a lot to talk about here. We're just trying to narrow down if this is the right optic for the viewers. But let's be honest, the Rattler's super popular. I know Outdoor Legacy, we've sold hundreds of them over the years. And there's a lot of different Rattlers to choose from. So, you've got right now this 320 unit is kind of sandwiched in between. There are two 256 resolution Rattlers. You got the 19 and the 25. The only difference between those two are magnification, but those are priced at $795 and $995. And then you have the 384 resolution Rattlers. There's 2 of those, and those are $1795 and $2195. And again, magnification is the only difference between those 2 models. So you got 4 models right now, or actually 5 total, but
5.
under $2,200. And this 320 at $1,495. And when they said, we're going to come out with a 320, we kind of thought, well, that's a pretty good idea, because you've got the 256 models, $1,000 and under. Then you've got the other 384 that are around that $2,000 price range. And I think when they first were released, they were that $1,795 was a little bit closer to $2,000. But this fitting in really nicely in that range. I think the benefit, and I think the advantage, honestly, I think the advantage for this scope has to be, the biggest advantage has to be the price. Let's face it, it's $14.95. AGM is a very smart company. There's a reason why they have such a huge market share, is because they know where their market is, and they do really well in those markets, meaning they're very well known for a lot of value, a lot of obviously good quality, but good value. And that's why they include 2 battery packs and the ADM mount. But also they have a lot of options, more options than any other company,
Right.
in that $3,000 and under price range. You think about 5 Rattlers, 2 adders, 2 varmints. They're just like, they are just kind of just flooding that under $3,000 price range. So the 320, Jason, other than just the price, what are your thoughts on just the performance of it?
Yeah, so briefly, I want to say this. I don't want to gloss over this, because this may be the first Rattler version 2 review that somebody may be watching. So I want to talk about some pros real quick. The fully removable rechargeable battery, that is an absolute Giant improvement over the Rattler V1s where you had to use the two CR123A batteries, very expensive batteries that do not get good battery life. So I just think overall that is giant. I would take this battery all day long. And it's funny, a lot of people ask about, can I buy spare batteries? And I'm like, you can. My advice would be to get it, you get two with it. When you think you need another one, buy one. And they never come back and buy another battery. It's like, oh, those two last so long. So I do love that about it. I do think that the size, the ease of use, the features, all the reticle and color options, all the things that you're getting in here with this American Defense mount, with the 5-year warranty, there's a lot going on, a lot of good value for the dollar. Now, what do I think about this optic? And this is the question that I know, Hans, you and Garrett and I all get on the phone a lot. And it's like, well, is it worth upgrading over, let's say, the 256 models? Okay, now this is a 3.5 power. And I don't know if you noticed, it's a fairly narrow field of view at 100 yards. So I would say that it's a pro and a con. All right. So if you need the magnification, it's there, but you are getting a narrower field of view compared to a lower magnification optic. But if we compare this to, say, the Rattler 25-256, that's $1,000. This is going to be the same magnification, 3.5 power. It is a significantly better image for the $500 extra dollars. I would say, I think you would agree, this is what we said in our review, that the 256 models have got a realistic, safe identification and shooting range on a hog or a coyote of about 100 to 125 yards. Well, we both agree, 225 to 250 maybe on the top end. Let's just for this call it 225. So for $500, you're picking up an optic, moving from a 256, moving up to this, $500 picks up 100 yards of safe identification and shooting range. And let's be honest, most people really want to be able to shoot about 200 yards. I mean, obviously some people want to be able to shoot further, but 200, 225, maybe even 250, that's a lot of value for 500 extra dollars. So I think that it does offer a really, really good value for the dollar. And being a 3.5 power, it's allowing you to easily take those shots at 150 or 200 yards without necessarily, maybe having to zoom as much in your digital zoom. Now,
Right.
we compare that to a 384. All right. So if we compare it to the next step up, that's going to be your Rattler 25-384, which is, I'm going to round up here, $1,800. So $300 more. It's only a 2 power. What I will tell you is there is a significant image quality improvement going up to the 384. No question. It is a crisper, clear image with a longer identification range, and it's just a better overall image. And I do believe it's worth the $300. But I have to bring this back around, and I have to be fair, because I think one thing Hans and I've tried to do on this show, as well as talking to our customers, is we need to compare apples and apples. And in reality, to get close to this 3 power, or this is a 3.5, and to get closer to that, you would really go up to the Rattler 35-384.
Right.
Which is $2,200. So now we're talking about a $700 gap. If you say, well, I really need a 3 power, 3.5, okay, but I need to get a 3 power. Now you've stretched that out a little bit more, and it makes this optic look a little more attractive. So, and I know I'm kind of rambling here, but I want to explain this, because the question that Hans and I get over and over and over is number one, is this worth it? Is it better than the 256? I think that is a resounding yes. In my mind, it is absolutely worth $500 over a 256 resolution optic. No question in my mind about that. Is it worth upgrading and going on to the 384? My opinion is if you don't have to have that 3.5 power, I think the $300 to move into a 2 power 384, if that's really, you're doing some more closer range stuff, I do think it's worth it. I think the 384 image is better, and I think
Mm-hmm.
for the 300 it's worth it. But if you're going to do a lot of shooting out there in that
Mm-hmm.
100, 200, 225 yard range, I think at that point you either need to choose between this optic or going up and spending the $700-800 and going to the Rattler 35 384 because that is a 3 power. And what you don't want to do, okay, stick with me here. And I know I've thrown a lot of numbers and magnifications out, but you don't want to buy the 384 2 power. Okay, that's the 25 model. You don't want to buy that and then zoom it up digitally to go to 4 power because now your resolution is cut down to 192 pixels. Way, way, way worse than this 320. So you may have heard all of that and say, good gosh, this guy just talked about 3 different resolutions and magnifications and prices, and that was, all over my head. No problem. That's where you need to call us, and we'll be glad to help you walk this through. But I'm going to end this, and Hans, I'm going to kick it to you, and I want to get your opinion on all this. But I would say, in a nutshell, significantly better and well worth it over a 256 if you have that budget and if you need to be shooting more than 100 to 125 yards. I do think a 384, if it's in your budget for the
Mm-hmm.
crisper, sharper, clearer image, better identification, I do think that's worth it if it's in your budget. But if $1,500 is really right around where you want to be, I do think this is a good value for the dollar.
I think that you've pretty much summed up the review right there. So if you want, y'all can just cut off the show and hop on over
Okay,
to
cut
Outdoor
it off.
Legacy
Go
right
home.
now. No, here's the thing. I think you bring up an important point. So you can't just compare these in resolution. Between the 256 and the 384. You have to also make sure that you're considering the scope that has the right base magnification for what you're wanting to do. So, at least with the 256, you have 2 options. You got a 2.5 power option or a 3.5 power option. With the 384s, you got a 2 power base option and a 3 power base option. With the 320 right now, and I don't know what the future holds, but there's only one option, and that's a 3.5 power. That is for a very specific type of hunter. If you are average shooting, you're really close range shooting in the woods, small game, if you're trying to squirrel hunt, coon hunt, hunting in the woods, you do not want a 3.5 power optic. This is definitely what we usually say is if your average shot is over 100 yards, then a 3.5 power is going to be more acceptable for you. If you're in areas where there's more wide open fields and less brush and cover, then a 3.5 power might be a better option. But again, you need to compare this to the 25 256, which is $995, 256 resolution, 3.5 power, and then also compare that to the 384 resolution Rattler, which is a 3 power for $2195. So you got a gap of $1,000 all the way up to $2,200. This one sits right there at $1,500. But do not waste your time considering this optic if it is not the right base magnification for you. Mm-hmm. You would rather go down or up, but don't buy this and just try to squeeze it into what you're trying to do, because essentially you're going to buy an optic that is not going to work well for you and it's not going to do what you need it to do. It's more important to buy the optic that, we did a whole show on magnification versus resolution.
We did.
And so making that decision based on what you need. And the good news is, again, like I said earlier, AGM has more choices in this price range, 3,000 and under, to choose from than really any other company out there. So you do have good alternatives. Now, it may cost you more money, or you may, if you're not willing to go up in price, they have lower resolution options, to choose from. But you definitely need, and I guess to wrap a bow on all this is, make sure that if you are deciding on the 320 that it is the right magnification for what you're trying to do. And if you don't know, that's when it's important to call us.
Yep, I agree with everything you just said. What one thing that, and I don't have it in front of me. You mentioned the field of view.
Yeah, it's
It's a
37 feet. Yeah, 37 feet at
that's
100
a
yards.
narrow field of view. I mean, it's I wouldn't call it extremely narrow, but that is
Right.
on the narrow side. Now, once you get out over that 100 yards, I don't think it matters anymore because it starts widening out.
Yeah.
You said it's how many? 37.
37. So at 200 yards, it would
Yeah.
be double that. I mean,
Yeah,
at
I was
50
just gonna
yards,
see
it
how
would
good
be
your
half of
math was there.
37.
37 times 2. I was curious.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's 72, but yeah.
And at 50,
No,
yeah, I
four,
didn't want to give you a
74.
number because I couldn't do that math off the top of
Yeah,
my head.
74.
But at 50 yards, it would be half of 37, whatever that
Yeah,
is.
so
Jason, Mr.
yeah, so
Computer.
it's definitely that. I think everything you said there is valid. I just think at that, we've been using this in the field, and it 20, 30, 40, 50 yards, it's a lot of magnification, and it's a narrow field of view. But once you get out over that, that doesn't. I mean, that's actually a benefit. When you get into that 100, 150, 200
And
yard shooting.
I think sometimes the perception is, well, more magnification is going to give me more performance at further distances. But what happens is, and also with the 256, you got the 200, the 2.5 power and the 3.5 power, you run out of resolution, meaning
That's right.
your scope is overpowering the distance at which you can actually see, because your resolution by that point after a certain yardage is just
That's right.
not going to show very well. I don't know if that makes sense, but in my mind it does.
It
But-
sounds really, really
yeah,
good. It does.
okay, good. That's all that matters. Yeah, that's all that matters.
So in the end, guys, I hope that this last 6-7 minutes hasn't confused you more. But again, this is something we pride ourselves on, is being honest. We're not coming out here and saying this is the greatest optic you've ever seen for $1,500. It's amazing. Everybody should go buy one. And we're not doing that. We want to make sure you get the right optic for your situation. And if you aren't sure, that is why we put ourselves out there. We put that phone number. Hans is going to put it on the screen, and you can call. Again, talk to Garrett, talk to Hans, talk to myself. We've got experience with all of these and all the other brands that we sell. Okay, so maybe you're saying, well, you've told me about all these great scopes from AGM, but are there other brands, and how do those compare? Maybe you own one of those and you want to know. That is what we're here for, and we would love to have your business. So if you want to make a purchase from Outdoor Legacy, call us. We will be glad to help ensure you're getting the right thing, and then help you if you have questions after you get it.
So maybe that's our strategy. Maybe we just kind
What
of
is it?
showed everybody our playbook. We get you really confused, so you have to call us.
Yeah,
And
we-
because if I had $1 for every time somebody said, "Hey, I'm just watched your video and I'm more confused than I was
Yeah.
before I watched it," so
Trust me, that's unintentional, but yeah.
unintentional. Yeah, exactly right. Well, if you, again, and I'll reiterate, if you want to give us a call, you can. I'll put the number up, 877-350-1818, outdoorlegacy.com. There are a lot of things that we can easily get into over the phone. These, we break these conversations down to a very macro level where we're going to talk to you about, okay, what kind of rifle are you using? Describe to me the environment in which you're hunting. Is this something that you need to be used? The Rattlers, Jason, the popularity for the Rattlers has always been, I would say, the fact that it can be used easily in a dual purpose application role, meaning, and you briefly touched on it, but being able to take it off, use it as a scanner, put it back on the rifle, and be able to actually hunt with it. So this style of scope, because it is a small compact scope, is going to be better for an AR style rifle. You will see pictures of people maybe on Facebook or something that have it mounted on a bolt action rifle. And we're not saying that it's not going to work on every bolt action rifle, but you won't know how comfortable it's going to be until you get it and try it. And that nobody wants to spend $1,500 to experiment with it. These optics were really made in mind for an AR style rifle, so that we'll work on that. But a lot of people do want that small compact optic to be able to use as a monocular and as a scope. So we break these conversations down to find out everything you want to use it for. And again, we will not most of the time, rarely ever do we just say, okay, this is the only choice. Usually we say, it depends on the price range stuff, but usually we give you two or three options to choose from, and they might not all be from the same brand, but that allows you to, it's important for you, the customer, I think, to make the final decision. It is not
Right.
important for Jason and I or Garrett to say, this is the, and I hear this so much online, this is the one you got to go with. If you don't go with this one, it's a mistake. I don't think, I think it's important for you to be given some options and you make the decision based on what your gut is telling you. Because Jason, uh, you've said this and I've said this, but I've had guys on the phone call me and they're trying to decide between two optics. And I'll say, well, what is your gut telling you? You
Yeah.
know, and that to them is like, you know, my gut's telling me this. And if I say, well, these are two good optics, you're going to be happy with either one of them. If your gut tells you to go with this one,
Go with the
then you
gut.
need to go with that one.
Go
And
with
so
that.
that's where it's important to have these conversations. But again, you can find all of this information on the website, outdoorlegacy.com. This has been a very long commercial, y'all.
Long.
Also, if you want to find more information about the Late Night Vision Show, the podcast, you can go to thelatenightvision.show.com, find all the past episodes there. I think the easiest way to find the show that you might be interested in is just to go to YouTube and type in the Late Night Vision Show and the scope that you're looking for. If a review does not pop up, it either means we're working on it, or it's an optic or a company that we're not working with. So you know, just be cognizant of that. But a lot of these things we have reviewed, and like I said, 8 years worth of content up there that you can find usually pretty easily. If you want to find out more about Outdoor Legacy on social media, Facebook, Instagram, you can find it there. Me on my YouTube channel, I was actually filming a video before this for the Hans ETX YouTube channel on YouTube. That's Hans, Hans ETX. You can also find me on Facebook and on Instagram. And I need a drink of water, Jason. I'm gonna let you take over.
Okay. Well, then I'm gonna take over and get us out of here. I promise I'm gonna make it short, guys. We hope to see you back right here on the Late Night Vision Show next Thursday and every Thursday between now and then. Y'all guys stay safe out there in the field.